people came up to me and said, like, I want to work with you, let's figure it out. The world is going to look at the successful creators and think like that's what you have to do. The only sign that I was doing it right was my gut.
All right, so I'm sitting here with Heather Ramirez. Heather, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We've been friends for a while, and I'm excited to have this conversation with you. I think it's going to be a little bit different than the conversations we've had in the past, though. I remember the first time we met in person. We met up for lunch, and we talked for a good
hours.
Yeah, 2 hours about just the business of not just YouTube, but the business of just content creation and how important it is not only for content creators, which it seems like everyone wants to be a content creator. It's like the number one thing kids want to be today, but also for businesses, how important it is to incorporate digital marketing and video into their marketing and their business plan. And I think what I want to dive into a lot is a lot of people think you need to have a big audience to be successful on YouTube. And I don't think, we've had this discussion, we're going to get into it, but you don't have to have a big audience. You don't have to be a big creator to have a successful YouTube channel or video marketing strategy.
Totally.
So before we dive into all that, let's have the audience get to know you a little bit.
Sure.
And what your background is and how you got into content creation.
Okay, so my name is Heather Ramirez. Hi. I am a YouTube creator. I've been creating on the platform since 2016. I was in marketing and nonprofit before that. I had a 10-year career doing that. And then I basically came up with the idea in the middle of my last job of trying to create a resource that would educate and empower people to utilize digital media to achieve meaningful goals, which is funny looking back now that we're in 2024, because it's like that is very common. Like, people use digital media in all aspects of their life now. But back then it was still very like, what are you recording this for? Where are you going to post this? Why does a nonprofit need to be creating digital content? It was still very like, what am I doing? So I wanted to create a resource helping people use these tools. And I figured I would start with a YouTube channel. And I just documented my journey in quitting my job, starting that business, not realizing, even though I saw the potential, I didn't realize it until it happened to me. I just, this has been my full-time, job since I started it. I have met people all over the world and connected with all these people that I never would have crossed paths with. I met my husband through YouTube. So it's really changed my life, and it's really shown me just, I'm able to do so many things that I would not be able to do without these tools. And I think, especially, after the pandemic and everyone being in their homes and like now having to not just connect online, but transact online, like, get coaching and buy things to, help you learn a thing or, whatever improvement you want to do with your life. Now it's like everyone is doing this. And so I feel like we're seeing a shift, and it's just been funny to be able to go from, I had a 10-year career using this as just a tool, as just like you're going to post this on Facebook. That's an afterthought after we do the whole marketing plan. That's just like this fun thing that we do on the side to now social is a huge part of it. Social is the part of it, and it's almost flipped. So that's where I'm coming from.
When you started doing this content creation, when did you realize it? How did you mix the passion with the business aspect? When did the business aspect start to come in to like the content creation?
For me, I think it's always been there because I've always been passionate about working with small businesses, particularly because it was part of my career when I was working. So I was always involved in like networking groups and chambers of commerce and stuff like that. I worked a lot with nonprofits. And so like, I think you can call it like, I don't know, the age I was like straight out of college. I think I was more open to being experimental. And whenever I did use it at my job, it worked, and like I worked with a lot of youth groups, and obviously they were very receptive to it. They were, we were doing things with Snapchat that the organizations had never done before. So I think for me, I liked trying new things, and it was just working. So it was always part of it. It was never just like I don't know, I guess I'm lucky that people were willing to take a chance on me.
Yeah.
Like, let's just see what Heather can come up with.
That's pretty cool.
So
when did you start to realize, though, that it was turning into a business? And walk me kind of through those steps of like what you had to do. Because, I mean, there's a difference between creating something for fun and doing the vlogs.
Yeah.
But like actually like, okay, I want to start treating this as a business. Like, was there ever a business plan, or was it kind of like fly by the seat of your pants kind of deal?
So it's funny because like I felt like I was doing it wrong because I didn't have a plan. And I felt like in order to start a business, the first question is like, what's your business plan?
Right.
But it's like, I don't know what my business plan is because I don't know what I can do. And I'm okay with just kind of finding it out. I think a turning point for me was, I remember teaching my very first like social media marketing 101 class in person at a chamber of commerce. And there were a lot of people there. Like I just wasn't expecting that. Like, you know, I think the first time I talked about it, there was like one person there. And then the next time, seats were full.
Oh, wow.
Seats were full. And I didn't even have an offering to talk about. Like, hey, you know, shoot me an email if you want to do this. I didn't even have that. But people came up to me and said, like, I want to work with you. Let's figure it out. And so that's when I was like, okay, these are businesses of all industries. And they also see the potential, but we can't really figure out what it is because we had never seen it done before.
Right.
But if you're open to it, let's figure it out. That was a big turning point for me. And that was actually pretty early on. I would say like 2016, 2017.
And that's kind of what I wanted to get at is like, there's not really a business, well, there can be a business plan when you're starting out, but it's so much different than like a standard business where it's not necessarily like a written down business plan. You kind of just have to figure it out because when it comes to content creation, every single person is different.
Totally.
And the way you create content, the way you think about it is completely different. And I think that holds a lot of people back because they think, well, I think this would be cool, but will other people think it's cool?
Yeah. I also think it doesn't. It also does the opposite, where it's like everyone thinks they can do this because it looks so easy.
Yeah.
And like when you have your first video pop off, you're like, oh, cool. Like I get it, right? But it's super volatile, changes all the time. Like short form vertical content was not a thing, and now it is a monetizable thing, and many channels are seeing a lot of success. Like financially, it's very lucrative for them. And I have never really dabbled in short form vertical, so it's like there's still a lot of potential. It's growing. I think we're at the point where there is precedent. So it's not, I think if you ask a random person on the street what a content creator is, I think they would have a picture. They would have an idea in their head. When I started, it was like, I don't know what that is. There are literally people telling me like, what's YouTube? Or I would walk around like vlogging. It's like, what is this for? And now I feel like people know. It's not weird for you to hold your phone and take a picture of your food. And so, I think like it's still, if you wanted to start a restaurant, you can go to an accountant, you can go to a lawyer, and boom, they would have instructions on exactly how you want to do that, regardless of the type of food you want to make, what kind of restaurant you want to open, whether it's big, small, home-based business. There are things that are going to be the same. For content creation, you can take 100 content creators and all of them would look totally different.
Yeah.
All of their source of income would be totally different. So it's like, it is easy to see performance success, but that doesn't necessarily translate into business sustainability, financial longevity, all those things.
Well, let's get into those things. How do you start figuring out that financial success or the longevity, right? But it's different for everybody.
Sure.
And this is where we had so much of a conversation is the fact that you don't have to have a big channel or a big following to be successful and to make a living on YouTube. Kind of walk me through that and why you think that's the case. I mean, we both think that's the case. And I think we've both kind of proven it where we don't have small followings, but compared to, even your husband, Tom, who's been very successful and other creators we know have been very successful, but you don't have to have the hundreds of thousands of subscribers to be successful as a content creator.
I think because there wasn't any precedent before, obviously the world is going to look at the successful creators and think like that's what you have to do. You need these insane numbers that are not required for any other industry in order to see success, like millions, I think even Mr. Beast was like his relative zero in terms of like what a successful video is 50 million. Like if it doesn't hit 50 million, it's like
it's more than like viewerships on TV shows.
Well, if you took how many channels combined, we wouldn't even make that, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's like, you know, so it's I totally lost my train of thought. What were we saying? I was like, Mr. Beast is crazy.
We're talking about, you know, how to be successful with a smaller audience. You don't have to have the huge audience.
Okay. So of course, it's because we didn't know this, right? There was no precedent. We're going to look to these giant creators, and because they're creating in a world that's new, like I feel like the way that you hit in a world where you're winning off of novelty is very different from trying to make it in a world that is saturated, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing is that someone like me who has, you know, I have 11,000 subscribers on YouTube. I think if you were to ask anybody, they would say that's not a lot, which is weird because it's 11,000 people.
And they would say it's not enough to make a living.
Yeah, in terms of content creator world, right? But again, I've been doing this full time since 2016. I make money very differently than a creator who has a gold play button, who has millions of subscribers. I think the thing is that you don't hear about people like me because I have a relatively small audience. There are not people making content. There's no channels talking about me because I just don't have the reach, right? But like, I love the flexibility, the freedom, being able to work for myself. Like I consider myself successful and I'm happy and I don't need more than that. There are definitely things that I could do like to increase performance and increase like make more. I'm leaving money on the table. But in terms of like my life priorities, this is cool. So again, it just goes back to, I don't know, you don't need, even though it looks like you need all of this glamour and fame and fortune in order to be successful, I think those creators don't represent most creators.
Yeah.
I think most creators fall somewhere in the middle, where you have 0 to 1,000 subscribers that are not making any money at all, just starting out. They're not monetized yet. You have the insane, huge creators that that are talked about in media. There's news articles about them, legacy creators, huge reaches, multi-platform success, all of that. And then there's everyone in the middle. And again, I think it's like, it's weird because I think if you look at the way that I make money and even the way that my husband Tom makes money, it's not the same. It's not that, but that doesn't make it any less successful in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it's just, you don't hear about it because we have relatively small audiences. And like, I had a whole podcast, I had a whole podcast about people who were doing this full time off 1,000 subscribers because, it depends on so many things, your niche, what you're offering, what your content's about, all of that.
And on that podcast, you talked a lot about the creator economy. Can you kind of walk me through your vision of what the creator economy is and how that has impacted other creators with that viewpoint?
Are you talking about the passion economy?
Yeah, passion economy.
Yeah.
I hear creator economy, passion economy.
Yeah.
Someone coined creator economy at one point. Maybe it was our buddy Doc Rock, but the passion economy.
The creator economy is just like the idea that there's businesses online, right? Yep. And specifically through creators who are creating content. Mm. But again, every creator makes money very, 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 very differently. My idea with the passion economy is that you can try to get like 10,000 people who are going to give you $1. You get $10,000, but you can also get 10 people to give you $1,000 and get the same amount.
Yeah.
And it's like, that might be weird for a 20-year-old to be like, how do I charge someone $1,000? But as a 45-year-old who's had a whole career in, law or something, you can do an online course, you can create content, you can now do coaching calls, you can do a whole mastermind program, and now you got $1,000 per person versus having this super wide reach and you're, doing $1 Patreon membership. I'm not knocking it, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're all valid ways to make money, but I think it's because the creators that are charging the higher ticket things, you don't hear about them because you just have smaller audiences.
Yeah. So when I think of capitalizing on your passion,
Yeah.
I really think of an entrepreneur, and that's how you can be, I think, successful as an entrepreneur, is really capitalizing on what your passion is. At any point when you were going through this journey as a content creator, did it ever kind of dawn on you that not only are you a content creator, but you're really an entrepreneur starting a new direction of business that is really just starting to bloom now?
No. Like, just no. Because, like, seriously, every step of the way, the only sign that I was doing it right was my gut.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was like 30. So it's like I didn't have a lot. It's not that I didn't have experience, but I didn't know any content creator, number one, in my life personally. I was the only one that I knew in my life that was doing it. And number two, I didn't know a lot of business owners. So, like, I grew up thinking that the only way to make a living is to get a job. And probably that job's going to suck, but that's just the nature of work. Work just sucks. You just work and you rinse, repeat until you die, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so my parents didn't approve of it. I remember the very first video I posted on YouTube, I showed it to my brother, and he was like, you have to take that down because future employers are going to see this and they're going to think like that you're totally incompetent. Because I was being vulnerable in terms of like, I'm starting this YouTube channel. I'm going to take a chance on starting business. I have no idea where I'm going to be in 6 months, but that sounds like an adventure I want to document. Like, I just think that I'm not going to regret keeping that for myself. Yeah. And so, like, it was the success, the pull, the compulsion to keep going was all just like, this is so cool. Like, I just want to keep going, and I'm curious, and I just want to see, like, I kept meeting people that were cool. I kept, you know, just seeing what other people were doing on YouTube, like Casey Neistat, who is a huge reason why I started. And I was just like, I want to be part of this, even though no one knows where it's going. And if I fail, I can go back into marketing. I can go back to nonprofit. Like, I'll be fine. And so I was never like, you know, I definitely didn't have I'm going to build this to do it forever, because I had not seen it done before.
Gotcha.
I always knew, like, okay, I'm going to milk this out as far as I can. It's been 8 years and I'm still going.
That's awesome. And it really is, to me, like the definition of an entrepreneur, right? Like, you're capitalizing on your passion, and you're not going to allow your success. You're not going to allow yourself to fail. Like, it's just not an option. There is no plan B, right? Like, this is just it. This is what I'm doing, and I'm going to figure it out. And I think if a lot of content creators start kind of focusing on that, I think they're going to find success, whether they have a large audience or not. You know,
it's like I think, like, I don't want to invalidate or make it easier than it seems.
Yeah,
but
it's
I feel
not.
like I feel like if you are passionate and if you're driven by, like, you are the only person who can create this content and it's making an impact, how do you not accidentally get connected to the right person? You know, just the right person seeing the right thing at the right time in their life. They send you a message, and that's what happened to me. Okay, so here's a story. I think it was a year into my journey. When I quit my job, I only had 6 months savings. So I ran out. But I was like, I want to keep going because there's no plan B. So what I did was, I happened to be in the same co-working space as Postmates, which is like an Uber Eats, like, food delivery thing. And I remember the rep was like, oh, you should totally do Postmates. This is a great way to supplement income as you figure it out, because you can work whenever you want. You just turn it on, and all of a sudden you're just doing food deliveries. You turn it off whenever you want. There's no boss, and it's all on your own time. You can work in your car. Like, I can edit in my car while I'm waiting for food to cook and all that. I saw that as a huge failure, because I was like, okay, I had this, like, successful 10-year career in marketing, and now I'm delivering food. I didn't want to make a video about that, but you know what? I was like, this is how dedicated I am. I'm going to freaking make a video about it and show everyone, like, sometimes you have to bootstrap. Sometimes you just have to put these things together to keep going. And then I got into a car accident, my very first car accident, and I'm fine. But I made a video about that. And I was like, okay, I almost was like, is this the writing on the wall? Like, dude, go back and just get a job. But I made a video about it, just like processing. Actually, I think it was a live stream. Someone saw that. I saw I saw an email from someone who's like, oh, I just watched your live stream. I didn't recognize a name, so clearly it was someone who hadn't commented before, but they had been a longtime subscriber. And they sent me an email and was like, you know, I've been following your journey for a while, and I saw what happened, and I want to help you, and I have an opportunity. Can we talk? Like, I don't know if you're the right person. I don't know if this is a good fit, but let's talk. That ended up leading me to a $15,000 contract.
That's huge.
Was that planned? No. I felt like a failure. I got into a car accident. I was already like doing stuff where it was like, my mom was like, what the heck are you doing, dude? But then that happened. And so it's like, at that time, I can't tell you how many subscribers I had, but it wasn't this glamorous number. It wasn't like, you know, I was a year in, so 2,000 subscribers and got a $15,000 contract, which of course you could say like, well, what happens when that's up? Or what happens this? But it's like, that kept happening. So like when that ended, someone would connect with me in between that, and then someone else would connect with me, and someone else would connect with me, and I just kept following these, like, I don't know, breadcrumbs. That was like, I'm just creating the content that I feel someone needs to hear. Like, you might feel like this is it, but if you just keep going, YouTube and these platforms allow your message to be heard by the right person. Like, I don't know who the heck that guy was. He was like East Coast somewhere. We would have never crossed paths. I could have made my LinkedIn profile, set up my website, blah, blah, blah. We would have never, like, there would have been no way for me to connect with him. And it was me crying, like, I don't know how I'm gonna fix my car, like, I can't do food deliveries anymore, that, like, got him to send me the email. So this might be like a, you know, how do I build a business off of luck? What seems like to be luck. But my point in telling this story is, I feel like if you're passionate, right? Like if you have the calling, the purpose, the drive to create content that you could just keep talking about forever, I feel like these platforms are so smart now that they will connect you with the person who needs to hear it at that time.
Yeah.
Just like my husband, like we would have never crossed paths. And it was just like, it was a video that had, I don't know, 190 views. And that was the video that he saw. He sent me a message, and now we're going on 4 years of being married. We would have never crossed paths before. And so like all that kind of stuff has just happened always throughout my entire, 8 years doing this.
And what I'm getting to, learning about your journey and hearing your passion, is to really be successful in this field. It's not about the viral videos, which I think a lot of people strive for. And those can actually work against you and bring in an audience that may not like the future content you're getting because of one viral video.
Totally.
To be successful, it's having your passion come across and creating content that connects with other people that are like you. And it doesn't matter the size of your audience. If you're bringing in people that feel your passion and connect to you, is when you can start building a business out of it, I think, and have it be sustainable. And that kind of brings me to my next point, where I wanted to talk about is incorporating video marketing, which I've seen you do and help other businesses with it. And I think that is the point, is where businesses are lacking, is getting their passion across and getting that connectivity. We see a lot of businesses trying to make that viral video, but I think people want to interact with people they can connect to.
Yes.
So how can businesses go about making successful content? I'm not talking about like, big corporations. I'm talking about like the small mom and pop entrepreneurs. How can they start incorporating video, which I think is an absolute necessity now, but get their passion and their, being able to connect with the right customers?
Okay, so I feel like here's a very common mistake that business owners will make when it comes to content creation, is that they look at it like marketing. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you right now, no one is going to willingly watch a commercial.
Right. The marketing is just like a side benefit if you're doing it right.
Yes. And I feel like, because we're living in a time where you can make a business about anything. And so if you're truly passionate about the solution that you provide, then share that. You don't have to talk about how you're the best product and blah, blah. Just share about like I don't know, YouTube changed my life. It has allowed me to do these things. And so I'm going to tell you how I made my YouTube channel based off my experience because I see what it's done for me, and this could happen to you. So here's my online course, or here's my mastermind, whatever. I don't have to tell you it's the best one, but if you resonate with me, you'll buy it. Even though there's someone who is better, bigger, doing it more successfully, it's creating with the creator of the product, right? So you could be a restaurant or a food-based business. You could be, you can have a coaching thing. You can sell a, tangible product, whatever it is. But I feel like now people can sniff out when you're being inauthentic.
Yeah.
It's just, someone's gonna catch you. I feel like the internet's at the point where someone will comment on it and then everyone will jump on it and everyone will just see through the thing. So if you're truly passionate about your thing, share that passion. And not in a way where it's like, here's how we're gonna like change your life, and here's like benefit A, B, C. Like, I feel like you need to have somewhere on the internet where that exists, so a website or whatever. But like, if I'm scrolling through Instagram, I'm scrolling right past your speech.
Yep.
Like you have to connect. You have to remember that when someone is scrolling, especially on short form vertical content, they're only half paying attention, because it's different from YouTube, where on YouTube, which is long form content, someone has to willingly click a video. They want to see that.
They're searching for it.
They're searching for it, right? So like, how do I fix my thing? They're like primed to see that. But when they're scrolling through Instagram or TikTok or whatever, it's like, you don't know what you're gonna get.
Yep.
And so if I'm gonna get a commercial, I'm scrolling right past. So that's, mistake number one. The thing that I would encourage a business owner who is looking to use content creation is to work with an influencer. Because honestly, if you've tried and you can't figure it out, this is what we're made to do. Like, a content creator who doesn't have a business, like is not trying to sell a thing, but is telling stories, is being creative, is probably going to come up with a better idea than you could, because you have your marketing hat on, you have your sales hat on. Collab, get together and work with that influencer. Like, their value to you could just be ideas. Come up with 20 ideas for reels and like, let's just see. And I feel like it'll probably be better than whatever you're going to come up with if you haven't figured it out already.
And that's part of being a successful entrepreneur, is knowing where your weaknesses are and bringing in the right people. I mean, you just dropped some good advice for business owners watching this right now or listening, because the way you're going to create content is going to be different for each platform. So like on YouTube, where it's long form, you can get away with a little bit longer. Maybe it's how-tos or how this product can help you. Whereas on Instagram, you want stuff that's a little bit more relatable. That's going to catch them. Show a little bit of behind the scenes. Even with the content I'm creating for clients, it's so important that, you want to see the product that you're selling, but you also don't want to have to scroll more than once to see your face and connect somebody with that business.
Yeah.
I think that's so important.
Because I do think at the end of the day, no matter how digital we're getting, people connect with people.
Yep.
Period. Like, that will always be true.
I think it's even more so now that people crave it, because we start to become more disconnected.
Yeah. Especially with AI. I think, the more soul that you can put into it, the better. The problem is, what the hell is soul? So that's why it's tricky, because it's like, how do you build a business off of creating soul? You need to figure out what that is, and you have to be willing to do it. And if you're having fun, if you're being creative, and if you're passionate about it, one of those ideas is bound to click, and you'll get the comment immediately, like the feedback pretty quickly.
All right, so now we're going to get into my favorite part of doing these interviews is looking back at your journey.
Sure.
And if you had to give advice to someone that is on the same path as you, what advice would you give them? What mistakes could you say, hey, I made this, don't do this, do it this way? What are some of those experiences that you can share?
Well, the thing that I've been thinking about a lot, just for me, is because it always kind of did feel like I was doing something wrong, probably because no one had been doing it before. So I couldn't get validation that way of like, hey, that person's doing this, they're successful, so I should do that. But then also, even now that it seems ubiquitous, it started to feel like, well, I don't have, an online course, so I'm doing it wrong because I don't have an online course. The thing is, what I wish I would have told myself, like throughout this journey, is that, again, people have seen success in all kinds of ways as a content creator. I mean, Tom, last time we counted, has 14 streams of income. Like, and ours, a lot of them don't overlap for me. Like, we do it totally differently. And I think it's like, because it's so volatile, because there's not a lot of security, we look to people who seemingly have the success, and we look like someone who has, a million could be like, well, here's how I'm doing it, and here's my funnel, and here's my all this, and here's all the cross-platform content I'm creating, and it feels like that's the way that you have to do it because they're seeing success. But I guarantee you, I will find not just one person, but many people doing the complete opposite and seeing just as much success. So that's the hard part, is like, I think it's a mental game.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is just like, I can't imagine having gone through this journey in my 20s, because I just don't think I would have had the freaking, like, I don't know if self-esteem is the word, but just like the mental grit, and I'm lucky that Tom and I, we met pretty early on this journey, but like, definitely find a community of people who are on a similar journey. Like, connect with other content creators. If you can find them in person, great. Like, start a networking group where you guys can regularly meet and talk shop.
Yeah. Because
it's so isolating. You're just in your room, like, creating content, and it's like, you're editing your face. Like, it feels strange, right? But like, if you can't find them in person, there's Discord groups, there's all kinds of things now online where you can connect with other people that can not necessarily tell you the way that it can be done, but you'll see that, oh, this person's doing it totally differently and also seeing success. Great. It's like, okay, we're all doing it differently, so stay your path. Like, keep doing the thing that you find that you're excited about, because here's the thing. You can come up with an idea a year and a half from now that is no one else has done. No one else has done. You obviously haven't done it, and what if that's the thing that pops off?
Yeah.
But you can't get to that point unless you just stay passionate and stay creative.
I think that's great advice, Heather. We're gonna wrap it up there. I don't think we could top it. I mean, everything I got out of this is to be successful. I think no matter what you're doing as an entrepreneur, is have your passion come across what you're working on, right? Be authentic and make sure you connect with other people. And I think you're going to find success. Just don't give up. So
there you go.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. And if you want more stories like Heather's, don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to this show.